け地獄にこってり絞り切ってすっかすかなbyakuyaをぶっ込む。おい死にかけてんだぞ。黙ってろっつってんだ。
Kurosaki Ichigo will save us. So, as always is the case with this season of Bleach, there's just so much that's happening and seemingly so much to absorb in, right? I went from initially writing almost no notes to writing note after note, and I'm not going to cover everything that I wrote about because I wrote about a pretty good meaty amount. But I will say this, I love how the episode, kind of picks up where we left off of last week. We see kind of the Soul Society kind of picking up after themselves and kind of not really worrying about the dead, but worrying about the people teetering from, death to not death, right? And the episode opens up with, I always mess up her name because Urahara and Unohana sounds very familiar to me, but it opens up with Unohana and her vice captain, I think they're called. And they're talking about we need to leave the squad 4 barracks. We need to go out and save more people. And Unohana's very strict with the head captain says do not leave. And seemingly part of that is because they're based on their abilities, based on what squad 4 does, the medical squad, or I don't know if that's what they're called, but they're the medical squad. They're the ones that come and are able to heal people. They're seemingly the most important folks inside of the Serite, inside of the Soul Society at this point, because they're gonna be crucial with this mess that is occurring, right? So we have that's going on. Then we have Ichigo learning about the fact that he basically is ass out of luck. He shit out of luck. He's not able to go in and fix his sword, fix his zanbakuto, and he's seemingly not able to fix it. And the reason is, which is explained to us, is normally the shikai, which is their unbankaied, unsheathed weapon, can be fixed with simply their spiritual pressure. Their spiritual pressure can go in and fix these weapons of theirs, but his was broken while he was in bankai form. And Bankai basically is if your Bankai gets destroyed, that's it, homie. And he learns that information. He has to absorb. He has to deal and absorb with that. So we have last week's episode about him finding about his 𝐒𝐴𝐶 heritage. Lots of questions for Papa. And then he deals. Then he has to come in, and he's thankfully he's still dealing with the potential trauma of losing a very good friend in Byakuya, losing head captain Yama, losing the fight, finding his 𝐒𝐴𝐶 heritage. He's dealing with all this stuff, dealing with his actual physical damage. Then, he gets to go see Rukia and Renji. Thankfully, they're okay. They're effed up, but they're okay, and he's having to deal with all this stuff. Then he goes in to find out about his zanbakuto. Basically, it's he's shit out of luck. He's up a creek with that. And that's a lot for him to absorb. Basically, he's lost his Bankai before, but at this point, it's once you lose your Bankai, once it gets destroyed by somebody else, that's it, homie. And so he's dealing with all of this immense stuff, right? I'll skip around a little bit because we're gonna come back to it, but then we have the Urahara stuff, right? We have Urahara and Inoue, and they call him before he goes up to the royal palace, whatever. And I'm gonna talk about that middle section. But before that happens, they're basically in some kind of trouble, right? Somebody bailed them out, but they're seemingly in more trouble before. And Urahara said something very important. He was Kurosaki needs to go fight. He needs to figure his stuff out. When he does, it'll lead him back to come and save us. So we don't even know what kind of situation that they're really in. If that was explained, if you guys caught on, put it in the comments. I missed it. I didn't catch on to what kind of effed uppery that they're really in, but they're not safe as they have described to him. So he's like, okay, we're gonna come back through there. So he's gonna have to deal with that at some point, right? So now I'm gonna talk about one more thing, and then we'll move on to talking about this Royal Palace and team, Squad 0 and stuff like that. So I love the callback. I love seeing 𝐿𝐴𝐻. Our boy 𝐿𝐴𝐻 was there. He just I don't have a doll next to me. I'll use Piplup. He was like, squeeze, 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 squeeze. Basically causing a ruckus over there in the Soul Society. And even Ichigo's like, yo, ever since Cone left, I was been wondering where the hell he went. He finally figured it out. I love how he didn't even go search for him. I love how Urahara used Cone to beam his like FaceTime call through Cone. I thought that was incredibly hilarious as well. So I love the callback to, kind of the old stuff as well. All right, so now we're talking about Squad Zero. So the whole Squad Zero stuff is pretty crazy. So apparently, I didn't know this, and it was mentioned during the Aizen arc, on what Aizen was really trying to accomplish. He was trying to create the Okin or whatever. Basically, he was trying to unlock the ability to get to this next part of this soul area. He's trying to get to the Soul King, seemingly become this guy or whatever, right? And we learned that of this other existence out there, but we didn't really learn more about that. And if we did, when I say we, I mean me. I don't remember that shit for nothing. I remember it being like hinted, and kind of like in passing, but not like truly spending a lot of time on it. But regardless, we see this. We see Squad Zero, and essentially, Soul Society is kind of split into two sectors. The Serite, which is the normal Soul Society, which we're extremely familiar with. And then we have the Royal Palace. And essentially, the way that these two are divided is there is a Squad Zero, which is a team of 4 who are in charge of protecting the Royal Palace, its inhabitants, as well as the Soul King, which you have to assume is the omnipotent being that controls the circulation of souls, etc., right? Creation, etc. Basically, this is God, right? This is their version. The Soul King is God at this point. So that we have the Squad Zero, and then you have the 13 squad captains who are in charge of protecting the Serite, protecting the everybody else kind of thing. Squad Zero comes in, and they're a bunch of hooligans. They're a bunch of ruffians, and they're very interesting. We have a pompadour guy, a bald guy, a fat lady, and a very sexy lady who apparently used to be Squad, whichever the science and research squad is. Is that Squad 11? I don't know. I don't remember. Let me know in the comments. I got it wrong. But she ends up being the most interesting one to me. And they go, and their main purpose for coming here is not to help or anything. They put the 13 squad captains in their place, or what's left of them, and they're like, our job is to protect up there, your job is to protect down here. We're not here to help you. You failed that, So I thought that was an interesting kind of thing to say, and very interesting, like putting them in their place. Now I'm sure if the shoe was reversed and the Soul King's place was being attacked, their expectations would be like, yo, you guys are the peons, get your asses up here, kind of thing. So I thought that was all interesting to learn. But their main objective was to come in. They got Renji and Byakuya, who we found out are Byakuya is still alive. Zenpachi, is still alive, so that's awesome. And they got Rukia, so they got those 3, and then Ichigo is gonna be taken up to the Royal Palace, so he can not only heal, but then that way they can create a modified version of his Zanpakuto, basically restoring it into a different version of itself, which could be very good, and I can't wait for more things to happen. I love Mr. Pompadour, who was like what was he called? Like the Spog Demon or something like that, or the something crazy. I love Mr. Pompadour so far. That's his first stop on his journey. I'm sure we're gonna get episodes with him, with all 4 squad captains of Squad Zero, and it's gonna be very interesting. But overall, this episode absolutely crushed it. Information overload. There's so much that I didn't cover. I'm not gonna spend time. You watched it. But incredible episode. Love all of the lighter heartedness of the episode. Love the comedy. I laughed a lot. When Mr. Spa dude, when Mr. Whatever his name is, Mr. Pompadour, threw Byakuya inside of the blood pond called like the bloody pond, the bloody hell pond or whatever. I thought that was hilarious. The cone stuff I thought was hilarious. So definitely a more lighthearted episode of what followed last episode's just ridiculousness. So Great episode, really incredible, really enjoyed it. I'm sure there's stuff I missed. Let me know if you guys can enlighten me on some of the things that I talked about during this review. But overall, solid 9 out of 10, incredible episode. I'm going to see you guys next week for another incredible one, I'm sure.